Jack leaned back against a tall, crystalline tree, his arms folded, looking at his alien companion, Zyra, with a mix of disbelief and resignation. Of all the planets in all the galaxies, we get stranded on this one, he muttered, kicking at the peculiar, spongy ground. You sure this is where the tour group said to wait? Zyra smirked, her large, violet eyes glinting with amusement. You humans have no patience, she teased. Besides, we're only slightly off course. Slightly? We haven't seen another soul for hours, Jack replied, rolling his eyes. And I'm not convinced these trees aren't watching us. Zyra's laughter was a soft, musical trill. You're overthinking it. Maybe this is fate, huh? A chance for you to bond with your charming alien guide, or to get eaten by the local wildlife, Jack muttered, scanning the surreal landscape, which seemed too colorful and quiet for his comfort. After a moment of silence, Zyra's gaze shifted to something half buried in the ground nearby, a metallic device with a sleek design that looked distinctly alien. She walked over, curiosity lighting up her face, and picked it up, brushing off bits of neon blue dust. What's that? Jack asked, peering over her shoulder. Zyra inspected the device, her fingers tracing strange symbols along its sides. A hollow wardrobe device. Basically, it lets you try on holographic outfits, or appearances. Must be from one of the tourist stations. She turned to him with a mischievous glint in her eye. Want to see what you'd look like with proper alien fashion sense? Jack laughed, shaking his head. I don't think this place is ready for me in anything alien. Oh, come on, Zyra teased. I'll bet your human fashion could use a little improvement. Let me just... She fiddled with the device, pressing a few buttons before pointing it at herself. A flicker of light surrounded her, and suddenly, Zyra's form shifted slightly, her silhouette morphing into a curious blend of alien and vaguely human features. Her skin took on a peachy tone, and her usually wide alien eyes narrowed, taking on a shape more familiar to Jack. It was a bizarre attempt at human features, but in a way, it almost worked. Jack raised an eyebrow, stifling a laugh. So, this is what aliens think humans look like. Zyra looked down at herself, clearly delighted with the transformation. It's fascinating. You humans are so plain, but in a charming way. She gestured to her face, where her cheeks now had a faint, blush-like hue. This is makeup, right? Sort of, Jack said, amused. But that look you're going for, well, let's just say it's an acquired taste. Acquired taste? Zyra repeated, trying to pout in a way that Jack guessed was supposed to be seductive, but ended up looking like a cross between a smile and a snarl. He couldn't hold back his laughter. Okay, maybe the pout was overkill, he said, wiping a tear from his eye. But nice try. Zyra shrugged, clearly undeterred, and cycled through a few more options on the hollow wardrobe, trying different human looks that ranged from glamorously overdone to utterly unrecognizable. One outfit even involved a long, flowing dress with glittering, holographic fabric and thick black makeup that made her look like an alien pop star trying her best to mimic human elegance. She struck a pose, tilting her head and giving him what she likely thought was a smoldering look. See? I'd fit right in as a human fashion icon, Zyra declared, twirling dramatically. Jack grinned. If humans wore that, I'd be terrified. They both laughed, but suddenly, the device in Zyra's hand started to glitch, emitting a soft whirring sound. Lights flickered on its surface, and before Jack could ask if it was supposed to be doing that, a flash of light surrounded them both, bright and blinding. When Jack's vision cleared, he blinked, looking around in confusion. Something felt off. The world seemed different, somehow taller, and his arms looked strangely delicate. He glanced down at his hands, which were slender and a pale shade of violet. Zyra, he said, his voice coming out in a strange, higher pitch. From beside him, Zyra stared at him with wide eyes. Except, she looked like him. His own familiar features, dark hair, scruffy beard, human expression, were looking back at him with a shocked expression. Jack. Zyra's voice came out of his own face, a mixture of bewilderment and amusement. Oh no, he muttered, taking a shaky step back and almost tripping over her own feet. We swapped bodies. Zyra, now in Jack's body, burst out laughing. So, this is what it feels like to be human. She ran his hands through her new hair, looking utterly fascinated. Jack crossed his arms, or at least attempted to, as he looked down at his new slender alien frame. "You're getting a lot of enjoyment out of this," he grumbled, his cheeks warming as he realized just how strange it felt to stand in her body. "Of course I am," Zyra replied, still grinning. "Now I get to see exactly what it's like to be you. And you, Jack, get to experience all the unique qualities of being alien. How exciting." Jack sighed, glancing at himself. "Fine, but we're figuring out how to reverse this, right?" Zyra winked in a way that felt strange to see on his own face. "Eventually. But think of it as a cultural exchange, a chance to really experience each other's lives." Jack wasn't convinced but went along with it, even as he stumbled a little, getting used to Zyra's graceful, otherworldly movements. The whole situation was ridiculous, but he couldn't help feeling a bit of excitement under the awkwardness. He took a deep breath, looking at Zyra, at his own, now smiling face, and managed a grin. "Fine. But if you're gonna be me, at least try not to embarrass me too much." Zyra tilted his head thoughtfully. "Oh, don't worry, Jack. I'll do my best to blend in as a human." The mischievous glint in her eyes told him he might have reason to worry. They both burst out laughing, the absurdity of the situation settling in as they continued to examine their new forms, each realization bringing a fresh wave of amusement and shared curiosity. Jack, now in Zyra's alien body, took a shaky breath, staring at his own familiar face as Zyra grinned back at him from within it. The whole thing was surreal, and he felt an unfamiliar sensation. Lightness in his limbs, a graceful ease that Zyra's body seemed to carry naturally. "So, this is what it's like to be human?" Zyra asked, her voice bubbling with excitement as she watched herself. Jack move with exaggerated, unfamiliar movements. She raised an eyebrow, attempting a human smirk, but only managing a slightly confused smile. Jack, glancing down at his new, sleek, violet hands, shook his head. "Yeah, and this definitely feels alien. How are you so light all the time?" Zyra laughed, watching him stumble slightly as he adjusted to her gait. "It's all in the balance," she said, smirking. "Humans are heavy. No wonder you all move so clumsily." Jack shot her a look but couldn't help laughing at her attempt to sound human while standing there in his body. "Clumsy? I'll have you know we've perfected balance, okay? And you've got some interesting quirks yourself," he replied, waving her arms with a flourish that accidentally turned into an elegant twirl. Zyra grinned, clearly entertained. "Oh, is that right? Show me some of this human balance you're so proud of." With a dramatic sigh, Jack tried to imitate some of his typical human gestures, his body following Zyra's natural rhythm with surprising grace. He stumbled through a few awkward human poses, lifting his eyebrows in mock amusement. Zyra burst out laughing, struggling to contain herself. "Wow, no wonder humans have such complex expressions. You look like you're in pain." Jack put a hand to his face, sighing. "That's called looking thoughtful. Thank you very much." Zyra, still giggling, leaned in closer, her new face brimming with amusement. "Thoughtful, huh? So this is what humans call looking deep?" "Hey, I'll have you know that deep is a very nuanced look," Jack replied, playfully crossing her arms in a perfect alien gesture. Zyra's body was naturally more poised than he'd expected, and he found himself relaxing into the way it seemed to flow so effortlessly. Jack caught Zyra mirroring some of his other expressions, though they looked a little distorted on his human face. She tried to give him a wink but ended up with a blink instead, her timing just off enough to look slightly awkward. "Are you trying to flirt right now?" Jack asked, laughing. "Well, isn't that how humans show interest?" Zyra asked, feigning innocence. "You wink, you lean close, you talk with your hands like this," she said, wildly gesturing with his hands in a way that looked both exaggerated and hilariously off-mark. Jack's laughter echoed around them as he watched her attempts to capture human flirtation. Okay, let's just say it takes practice," he said, shaking her head with a grin. "Though I'm impressed, kinda." Zyra smirked, leaning in with a mischievous twinkle in her eye. "How about I show you some alien flirting then?" she teased, shifting a little closer. Jack felt a rush of unfamiliar warmth, her alien physiology making him feel a bit more conscious of his new form. "Oh, I'd love to see this alien flirtation," he replied, crossing his arms, now curious. Zyra stepped back, adopting a posture that Jack assumed was some kind of traditional alien flirtation stance, arms lifted, her new face arranged in what looked like a playful grin. Jack's human face looked both intrigued and confused. She lowered her voice, mimicking a smooth, hypnotic tone. "Human Jack, do you find my form appealing?" Jack stifled a laugh. "Oh, absolutely," he replied, amused, playing along. "Why, Zyra, I've never seen someone embody human quite like you." "Oh, I know," Zyra replied with mock confidence, tipping his head to the side. "It's almost like I was born to be human." Their laughter filled the air as they continued trading playful barbs, each one discovering new quirks of the other's body in the process. Jack found himself marveling at the fluidity of Zyra's limbs, while Zyra couldn't get enough of the exaggerated ways human gestures looked on his face. Then Zyra's expression softened, and she gave him a thoughtful look, tapping her chin in a move that was undoubtedly human but endearing all the same. "So, Jack," she said, her tone softening, "do you like being alien?" Jack looked down at his violet hands, lifting them and stretching his slender, graceful fingers. "It's different," he admitted. "But also kind of nice, actually. Your species definitely has a lighter way about them." He paused, smiling. "Almost makes me wish I'd been born alien." Zyra grinned, raising an eyebrow. "Careful, or I might just keep you like this." "Please," Jack replied, smirking. "I don't think you could handle being human for long. It's a lot of responsibility, you know. We humans have depth." "Depth?" Zyra laughed. "You mean you're clunky, clumsy, and heavy." "Clunky," Jack said, faking offense. "I'll have you know we've been carrying that weight for centuries with style." They both laughed, the banter light and easy, and Jack couldn't help but feel a strange connection in the midst of all the teasing. Zyra's laughter, his laughter, it all seemed to blend in this odd, surreal experience, as though they'd finally found a way to understand each other. Zyra's expression softened, and she reached out to touch her hand, the movement almost tender. "So, this is what humans call a moment?" she asked, her tone genuine. Jack nodded, his amusement fading into something else, something warmer. "Yeah, you could say that." For a moment, they simply looked at each other, the absurdity of the situation melting into a strange, shared understanding. Then, Zyra's mouth quirked into a mischievous smile. "Well, don't get used to it, Alien Jack. You've still got to show me how humans navigate their attraction rituals." Jack laughed, shaking his head. "Fine, but don't blame me if it's overwhelming. It's a human thing. You wouldn't understand." "Oh, I think I understand more than you give me credit for," Zyra replied, playfully crossing his arms and giving him a challenging look. "All right then," Jack said, leaning in, his voice low with mock seriousness. "Lesson 1. You've got to nail the deep and thoughtful look. Watch and learn." Zyra attempted the look, her new human face scrunched into what she probably thought was a serious expression, but it ended up looking more like mild constipation. Jack couldn't hold back his laughter. "Not bad," he said, wiping a tear from his eye. "But let's work on that one." They continued trading mock gestures, each taking turns perfecting their impression of the other's quirks, their laughter ringing through the empty landscape. It was ridiculous, surreal, but somehow perfectly right. And as they continued to play, each moment was a discovery, a deepening connection, the awkwardness of their alien forms fading as they began to truly understand each other, one odd quirk at a time. The novelty of switching bodies hadn't worn off, but both Jack and Zyra were beginning to find the little surprises of their new forms amusingly challenging. The more they moved, the more they stumbled across quirks they hadn't anticipated. Jack, trying to master Zyra's natural elegance, accidentally triggered a series of her body's alien reflexes, a rapid blink, a small twitch, even a sudden humming noise whenever he felt relaxed. "Are these normal alien things?" he asked. His alien face now flushed a shade of blue, matching his embarrassment. Zyra, meanwhile, watched him from her own perspective, deeply amused. "Absolutely," she teased, his own human face now wearing a smug expression. "All part of the alien experience." "I'm surprised you haven't activated the singing reflex yet." Jack looked horrified. The what? Oh, nothing, Zara said casually, though Jack could see the glint in her eye. Just be careful when you try to yawn. My people, sing when we're tired. Loudly. Oh, great, Jack muttered. So if I get sleepy, I'll start serenading the whole planet? It's a cultural tradition, Zara said with mock seriousness, putting his hands on his hips. You have to respect it. Jack rolled his alien eyes, the movement exaggerated and dramatic. Fine, but you better be ready to deal with human problems too. Zara laughed, waving her hands in a very human gesture. Oh, I'm ready. Hit me with your best human habits. Jack smirked. Okay, try this. Humans yawn a lot. Go on, try one. Zara frowned, looking at him suspiciously. I feel like you're tricking me. Not at all, Jack replied innocently. Just, give it a try. Really wide. Zara, narrowing her human eyes, opened her mouth in an exaggerated yawn. Almost immediately, she began coughing, trying to keep her mouth closed. Huh. Jack laughed, clapping his hands. That, my dear Zara, is a yawn gone wrong. Welcome to human airway problems. Zara coughed, laughing through the ordeal. So you humans get airway malfunctions just from breathing? And you don't sing, you cough. Jack nodded, grinning. It's called choking. Part of being human. Fascinating, Zara replied, still laughing, her voice dropping into a mock serious tone as she attempted to sound impressed. They laughed, each experiencing the oddity of being in each other's bodies, the small struggles becoming increasingly entertaining. As they continued, Jack tried to describe the complexities of human hunger to Zara, who couldn't seem to understand the concept. So she said, crossing her human arms, You mean you get cranky if you don't eat? Jack laughed, nodding. Oh yeah. Humans need food regularly. It's called hunger. Zara tried her best to look thoughtful. And you will lose control? Because you're hungry? It's called being hangry, Jack replied, grinning. And it's no joke. Zara looked at him, amused. Hangry. I'll have to remember that one. So, what do you do when you're hangry? Jack shrugged, though in Zara's alien body, it came across as a graceful wave. But you wouldn't understand, you aliens are all calm and collected. No such thing as alien hanger, right? Not at all, Zara replied with a mischievous smile. Our emotional control is legendary. Watch this. She closed her eyes, taking a deep breath. When she opened them, she gave him a soft, serene look, utterly at peace. Oh, come on. Jack protested. How do you just turn it off like that? Zara winked. It's called emotional mastery, Jack. Something us aliens excel at. Jack groaned, realizing he'd been bested again. Well, next time you're in a human body, I'll show you real emotional depth. Looking forward to it, Zara said, smirking. But just as she seemed to be enjoying her mastery of human calm, a loud, rumbling noise echoed between them. They looked down simultaneously, realizing it had come from her, Jack's, stomach. Oh no, Jack said, laughing. Looks like you're getting your first taste of human hunger. Zara placed a hand on her stomach, looking both shocked and fascinated. So this is it, she said, grinning. The infamous human hanger? Jack nodded, watching her struggle with the sensation. Yep. And you're going to need to do something about it soon. Or else. Zara looked at him, eyes widening in mock horror. Or else what? Jack shrugged. Or else you'll lose your calm alien control and get cranky. Zara gasped, clearly amused but trying to hide it. So you're saying I should eat? Jack nodded. Exactly. Time to embrace the human instinct. Dig in. They both looked around, realizing there was nothing around but the strange, alien vegetation. Zara raised an eyebrow, clearly skeptical. So, what exactly do we eat? Jack shrugged. It's called improvising. You're in the wild now, human survival style. Zara rolled her eyes, trying to look annoyed. And here I thought humans had it all figured out. Jack smirked. Oh, we do. We're just adaptable. You'll see. With that, Zara knelt down, examining a strange, bulbous plant that looked like it might be edible. She hesitated, glancing at Jack. Should we try it? Jack nodded, his alien face serious. Only one way to find out. They both stared at the plant, each one daring the other to take the first bite. Finally, Zyra plucked a small piece of the fruit, her face contorted with a mix of curiosity and dread. She closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and took a small bite. For a moment, she seemed pleasantly surprised. But then, her expression turned to horror, and she immediately spat it out, coughing. "Oh, that's terrible," she gasped, her human voice choked with laughter and disgust. Jack burst out laughing. "Welcome to the joys of foraging. Not all alien food is human-friendly." Zyra gave him a mock glare, still laughing. "You could have warned me. Where's the fun in that?" Jack replied, grinning. "Part of the adventure." Zyra shook her head, wiping her mouth. "You humans have strange ideas about adventure." They shared a laugh, the mishap only strengthening their bond as they continued to explore their swapped bodies, each mishap bringing them closer to understanding each other in ways they never expected. For all the awkwardness, it was beginning to feel surprisingly natural. As they wandered further, Jack and Zyra found themselves at the entrance of an ancient alien temple that looked untouched for centuries. Jack, still in Zyra's body, examined the intricate carvings and strange symbols on the temple walls. "Think we're supposed to go in?" Zyra asked, her human voice sounding more curious than hesitant. Jack shrugged. "Only one way to find out. Besides, you wanted adventure, right?" Zyra rolled her eyes. "Yeah, I just didn't expect the adventure to involve being inside a human body. It's a bit high maintenance, you know." Jack laughed, placing a hand on his hip. "Oh, and aliens are low maintenance? You literally glow when you're excited." "Hey," Zyra retorted, smirking, "we call it enthusiasm. It's a cultural thing." They stepped inside the temple, the air heavy and cool, with beams of light filtering through cracks in the stone. As they explored, they spotted an odd circular device at the center, surrounded by a soft, pulsing glow. Jack looked at it, intrigued. "Maybe this is what caused the body swap?" Zyra raised an eyebrow. "You think? So, should we touch it again?" Jack hesitated. "Well, it's either that, or we stay like this forever." Zyra pretended to weigh the options, her face a mix of humor and genuine contemplation. "Stay like this forever? I mean, I could see the perks. You know, being able to complain all the time, having to eat every few hours." Jack laughed, nudging her playfully. "And I'd get to be graceful, glow occasionally, and make humming noises at random. Tempting, but no thanks." Zyra grinned, the mischievous glint in her eye unmistakable. "You sure? I think you were finally starting to get the hang of alien elegance." "Please, I was born elegant," Jack retorted with mock pride. "But I think we've both learned a lot about each other's unique traits." They exchanged a look, and without further hesitation, they both reached out, each placing a hand on the glowing device. The temple filled with a soft hum, vibrating through their bodies, and suddenly a bright flash enveloped them both. When the light faded, Jack looked down to see his own hands again. "Whoa, I'm me," he exclaimed, laughing as he wiggled his fingers, almost in disbelief. Zyra looked at herself, her violet skin and graceful frame back in place. She let out a relieved laugh. "I'm me too. It worked." They both erupted in laughter, the surreal experience of the past few hours finally hitting them. They each took a moment to stretch, as if making sure everything was back in its rightful place. Jack adjusted his jacket, grinning widely. Zyra shot him a look, her amusement clear. "I have to admit, being human was definitely an experience." "Oh yeah," Jack teased. "What was your favorite part?" Zyra thought for a moment, then smirked. "I'd say the hair. So many styles, and it's just there all the time. It's oddly fun." Jack laughed. "Yeah, hair's pretty great. Though, you looked hilarious trying to tame it." Zyra playfully crossed her arms. "At least I didn't trip over my own 2 feet. Oh, here we go." Jack laughed, putting a hand to his chest, feigning offense. "For the record, your legs move in ways that defy physics." Zyra rolled her eyes, though her amusement was clear. "Face it, Jack, you're just not cut out for alien grace." They both chuckled, the shared experience still fresh in their minds. Zyra's expression softened slightly, and she gave him a genuine smile. "But really, I think I understand humans a little better now. You're more resilient than I gave you credit for. Jack's grin softened, touched by her words. And I get why aliens seem so calm. You've got this inner balance. It's pretty amazing. They stood in silence for a moment, the playful banter fading as they shared a quiet moment of understanding. Then, Zyra's mischievous smile returned. Still, she added, next time we swap, I'll be ready. I'm officially a human expert now. Jack laughed, shaking his head. Oh, please. You still need years of practice to pull off this much charm. Oh, I think I managed pretty well, Zyra replied, crossing her arms smugly. After all, I survived Hangar and didn't even complain. They laughed again, their friendship feeling deeper and more connected than ever. As they made their way out of the temple, they both knew they'd never forget the strange day they spent in each other's bodies, learning, laughing, and realizing just how close they'd become despite their differences. As they stepped out into the warm sunlight, Zyra nudged him playfully. So, what's next on this adventure of yours? Jack smiled, glancing at her. How about we find a place that actually has food? Real food. Sounds good, Zyra replied with a grin. As long as it doesn't involve another body swap. Jack chuckled. Deal. With a final laugh, they set off, side by side, each secretly grateful for the crazy, hilarious experience that had brought them closer than they'd ever imagined.